Now, many of you who have probably invested in property and have lost money or are actually looking to invest in property would have one of the biggest fears, the biggest questions. What if property investing doesn't work for me? What if my property does not earn me money? What if I'm not able to rent out my property? Or what if the market goes down because of government intervention? Right? All these questions are the same questions I asked myself just 2 years ago. Right? What if? All the what ifs. Right? So today I'm just going to talk about two things. Okay? Number one, today if you have bought a property, right, and let's say the government released some kind of a measure or cooling measure or easing measure, and it causes your property to not increase in price, right? Meaning there's no capital gain, okay? Then what happens, right? So the question I get asked often is, Mark, what if this situation happens to me? What is going to happen, right? So here I'm going to tell you what are the thoughts that ran through my own mind before I even dived into my first property purchase, right? And this is after I've done all my planning, my financial calculations and analysis and things like that, right? Because there are some things in the world today that you just can't have control of. You don't have 100% control, right? Any investment that tells you that it's 100% guaranteed, there is no such thing. So today, let's look at what is the worst case scenario that can happen if the property doesn't appreciate. Okay, number one, if you have done your financial calculations with prudency, right? Meaning you have done your homework, right? Calculated how much cash reserves you have, right? The most viable option is to hold the property. Meaning to say, you don't let it go at this point of time. Because you have already made cash buffers, you will probably be able to hold it for a longer period of time, right? So that is one of the options, right? So if we hold it and we hope for for things to change in future, while at the same time you could probably be collecting some kind of rental yield from this property if it is a resale or is a completed property, right? So that's number one, if there's no capital gain. Okay, so number two is what if? And what if it's the worst of worst scenarios? Mark, what if my property is not able to rent out and I don't have cash buffers? Okay, of course, you should have cash buffers. That's the first thing you should be planning for when you make your game plan in this property investment, right? So let's say you have overlooked that. Okay, so what happens now? Okay, so that's number two. Number two is, think about it. If today you really made the mistake and your property does not appreciate, or you can't rent it out, or you rent it out at a low rental yield, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, number one is that if you get a low rental yield, you probably have to do some topping up every month. Okay, but think about it. When you're paying your monthly installments, a certain portion, it's still a principal that you would get back, right, upon the sale of this property, right? The only thing that you lose is, of course, the bank's interest. Okay, so yes, I'm telling you straight up, yes, there's a chance that you could lose money when you invest in property. Okay, but what do you actually learn from this? Okay, as with any mistake that you make, I think it is important to learn your mistake of why this thing happened, alright, or why this situation has happened. Even though you have done your planning, it could be possibly because you've overlooked, like for example, you did not buffer enough cash reserves, or did you overlook a certain point or some kind of when you were doing your analysis, right? So there is always a lesson to learn from a mistake, okay? As compared to the stock market, my personal opinion is that for property, there is still an option for you to hold that property. Or in the worst case scenario, like I always say, you can probably stay in this property, right? So today, I know these are probably one of the very worst case scenarios that can ever happen to any property owner, not just an investor, just an owner. Like for myself, where I had a HDB that lost 120,000, right? So I learned from my mistake, I got educated, I started attending seminars, I spent thousands of dollars buying books, buying courses, attending workshops, right, and master classes to learn about property investment. So that is what I learned from my mistake. So today I'm gonna tell you that if you're sitting on a fence and worrying, right, and you don't take action, well, nothing's gonna happen. So you decide today, if you really want to get started, you know, if you do make a mistake and learn from it, chances are your next investment or your next step ahead will definitely be a better one. So if you have any questions, do drop me a comment down below, right? I'm just sharing from my own personal opinion, right? I'm sure property investing is not for everyone, but if you are a serious aspiring investor, right, do drop me a PM. I'd like to hear from you as well on your thoughts. This is Mark here, Property Growth Strategist. I'll see you next time.